In this section, we're going to talk about some guidelines and some strategies that you as a parent can use to help your kids and protect them against cyberbullying. Keep your computer in a common area. Don't let your kids use the computer in their bedroom or in a place where you can't supervise them. Talk regularly with your kids about online activities. Explain that cyberbullying is harmful and unacceptable. You might consider installing parental control software and tracking tools, although this is no substitute for one-on-one time with your kid. Model the behavior that you want to see in your child. If you're acting like a bully or if you gossip, then your children will come to believe that that behavior is okay. Encourage in-person communication with friends. There's no substitute than real-life interaction. Set firm guidelines for cell phone use and monitor that behavior. Again, stay calm. If you find that your child's being cyberbullied, here are some immediate steps that you should take before reporting. Talk to your child. Get their perspective. A lot of times what our children see as inappropriate is not the same as what we see as inappropriate. So it may be no big deal to them, but it does give you an opportunity to have a conversation. It's also really important to discuss retaliation. We're tempted as human beings, when we're hurt, to hurt the other person back. It's really, really important to remind our kids not to retaliate online because that could put them in just as bad of a situation as the bully themselves. Don't delete anything. Leave the computer on. You can turn the monitor off, but leave the computer on. Don't make contact with the person or respond in any way. You need to determine the severity of the problem. You need to understand what might be the writer's intent or what's in the content. How was the content intended? If it's been repeated and if it's gaining strength in terms of being threatening. So here are some additional strategies that we need to consider. No moral authority off campus. Schools are really limited in what kinds of off-campus behaviors they can impose discipline for. Ultimately, parents are responsible for imposing moral authority on their children for behaviors that they're engaging in off-campus. As a parent, it's always important to investigate possible on-campus behaviors. Always ask your child about related altercations at school as well. What initially appears to be off-campus speech might also be involved in on-campus speech or activity. As parents, we often want schools to take care of what happens at school and what happens outside of school. Schools can really only be held liable if they have found out, or they could have found out, that cyberbullying was happening, but didn't look or even ask about the situation. As a parent, it's really important to get to the bottom of the situation. Sometimes the student who posts harmful information online is also the victim of harmful information inflicted by other students at school or even by teachers. So that's why they're acting out online. Students do need to be held accountable, though, for what they post online. But everybody who engaged in harmful acts should also be held accountable, or the problem's going to fester. As a parent, it's incredibly important to document. You need to fully investigate and retain all information and all evidence. That means that you hang on to all online harmful material. If needed, you might need to get an independent assessment of your child to make sure that they're okay. You need to keep track of your child's grades, their attendance, and their participation in school activities, and if any of those things have changed. You need to ask for reports from teachers in writing. So if a teacher calls you and says, hey, this is what's going on for your kid, ask for them to send it to you in writing. Also, ask for friends of your child to write down what they know about a bullying situation. Keep a record of any prior or related in-school incidents. If you do need to go to the school and talk to them about your child being bullied, you're going to want to have a record of this information. If you find out that your child has been involved in bullying, remember, don't excessively discipline them. The goals of discipline are to teach or to guide, not to punish. So it's really, really important that we keep that in our mind as we're trying to figure out what to do with a child who bullies. As a parent, you want the child who posted the material to feel remorse so that the harm won't continue. If you excessively discipline this child, you may turn that remorse into anger, and that can make things even worse. We also don't want to just discipline kids. We need to have them fix things. Stopping the harm is the most important objective when you find out that your child has been bullying. Other actions that have to be taken if your child has been a cyberbully is to make sure that all harmful materials are removed to the best degree possible. If your child's been the target, you want to make sure that you can ward against retaliation. You want to keep up with your child and ask them about what's going on online. You're trying to bully-proof your child. If your child has been a bully, you want to find ways for him or her to repair the damage. If the cyberbullying is a school-related incident or involves anyone from the school environment, you need to notify the proper authorities at school. Some schools have a reporting structure and have instituted an Internet acceptable use policy and cyberbullying rules. If your child is being bullied by a group of children from school or through a school computer, there are repercussions on that end, and the sooner you notify the school, the better for all parties involved. You can also notify your Internet service provider, usually at abuse@your.isp, for example, AOL or MSN.com. Another resource that you can contact is the Cyber Tip Line. Usually they can point you in the right direction. So when should police be called? When cyberbullying has become a matter of harassment or stalking, we need to notify the police. When personal contact information has been shared online with a third party, such as a hate group or a sexually deviant group, call the police. When there are threats of violence to a person or property, we need to contact the police. When hate crimes have occurred or when sexually explicit pictures have been exchanged, law enforcement needs to be called.
Oh, man. Oh, dude, check this out. I'll see you back in the
Compound A, 46.7% by weight. Compound B.
Once you post your image online, you can't take it back. Anyone can see it. Family, friends, anyone. Remember, think before you post.
When I go into the classroom, I ask kids, what are some of the things that we as adults can do better to make it easier for us to have conversations with them about cyberbullying? Here are some of the things that they've told me. They said that adults need to know more of the language and technology that they are using. Adults also need to know what their responsibilities are in terms of supervision, liability, and advocating for kids. They want us to know that kids want to be part of a meaningful conversation and positive change. They want us to learn how to listen and not overreact. Of course, our kids need to know a few things too. They need to know that with freedom comes responsibility. If they're going to be roaming around the internet, they need to be able to make responsible choices. They also need to know that we need to supervise them until they're able to fully accept that responsibility on their own. Kids need to know that cyberbullying and any type of mistreatment are unacceptable. Kids need to know that cyberbullying and sexting are illegal. They need to know how to recognize cyberbullying, how to not participate in it, and how to report it. Kids need to know how to reach out to others for help if needed, and how to take a stand against cyberbullying.